Hey, what's happening guys, Chris here, and today we're going to be checking out the Annihilator in Battlefield 1. And with a name like the Annihilator, it's safe to say that it can be a pretty vicious piece of machinery, being able to shred through close range targets in the blink of an eye. Despite having a pretty edgy sounding marketing name, the Annihilator was basically an early prototype version of the extremely popular and well-known Thompson machine gun, aka the Tommy gun. And at the time of its design, it was basically a fetus in the womb waiting to be born. Potentially a pretty damn violent fetus with anger management issues. The Annihilator was a magazine-fed SMG with a 20 round capacity, chambered in 45 ACP. So it fired off the very same rounds as the M1911 pistol, but unlike the M1911, the Annihilator could spew out all of its bullets in less than a second. So you could only imagine what kind of damage it could do to some poor bloke in a close quarter combat situation. And at the same time, you could expect the gun firing in full auto to have ridiculously erratic and almost uncontrollable recoil. Not exactly the greatest thing to wield against anyone beyond point blank range. But this wasn't really a massive problem, because the Annihilator wasn't really designed for ranged gunfights anyway, with its sole purpose being made for sweeping the trenches and literally spraying them with bullets, wiping out any unfortunate targets within them quickly and effectively. So you can see why it was quite aptly named the Annihilator, and quite a few of the models created didn't even have any sights or a buttstock, because they just didn't really need them to fulfill their offensive hit and run role within close quarters. The Tommy gun, trench broom, Chicago typewriter, whatever you want to call it, the Thompson submachine gun was the outcome of weapon development by a guy called John Thompson. He made it his mission to design a very dangerous gun that was a bit savage in its nature, and this mission began during the Great War, when he had the vision of frontline troops wielding a rapid-firing, fully automatic trench-friendly weapon designed by himself. He wanted something lightweight that could be fired from the hip, reloaded easily in the dark, and could single-handedly wipe out a group of enemies without any issues. And so the first iteration of Thompson's design popped up between 1917 and 1918, in the form of another, earlier prototype with another funky name, called the Persuader. This was basically the very first sign of Thompson's vision coming to light. It was a belt-fed gun that was only partially built and never really finished, due to the fact that the slightly newer magazine-fed Annihilator model was later designed as a replacement in the summer of 1918. Work continued throughout the rest of the year to iron out a few small issues regarding the Annihilator's durability, with prototypes being finalised and ready to be shipped over to Europe on the date of the 11th of November 1918. But if you know your history, you'll know that the Great War ironically ended on this very same day, which would have been a massive kick in the face for John Thompson, as his brand spanking new trench sweeping toys were no longer relevant in the world's current affairs. But this wouldn't be the end of Thompson's Annihilation machine, sitting around at the docks in New York City, as even though they didn't get a chance to shine in the hands of doughboys on the Western Front, they were further modified and fine-tuned over the following years, still retaining Thompson's initial idea of being a weapon capable of spraying bullets all over the place to cause maximum carnage, eventually leading to the infamous Thompson submachine gun not too long after. Probably one of the best things about the Annihilator Trench is the fact that it's absolutely 100% completely free. So you're not going to need to fork out for any exclusive DLC or anything, as the gun's available to unlock for everyone after installing the Weapons Crate update. But you're still going to have to unlock it first, so it's not exactly something that you can hop right into the game to use straight away. Thankfully, it's not a tremendous pain in the arse to get hold of, as all you'll need to do is get 100 kills using assault primary weapons and 25 kills with sidearms whilst playing as an assault. And both tasks can be completed by just simply playing the game, without having to really go out of your way. Just run around on a few close quarter maps with your favourite assault loadout and rack up the kills one by one. And if you're having trouble getting those sidearm kills, I highly recommend jumping into a team deathmatch game with the gasser equipped for easy 2-hit kills up close. Otherwise, just keep finishing the weakened players off with your favourite assault pistol, and the Annihilator Trench will be all yours in no time. But anyway, it's time to run over those stats and see what separates the Annihilator from those other assault SMGs. When it comes to power, Thompson's little trench sweeping machine deals a very respectable amount of damage in comparison to other similar guns, having its very own set of figures. The Annihilator dishes out a maximum of 30 damage up to 11 meters, which drops down quite sharply from here to just 25, just 1 meter further. It's then going to keep dropping over distance, but at a more gradual rate, eventually dealing the weapon's minimum damage of 15 at 37 meters and beyond. So those 45 caliber rounds are actually a tiny bit stronger up close than nearly all of the other assault automatic weapons, which isn't enough to lower its bullet to kill, still taking between 4 to 7 shots depending on range, but it means that the gun's going to deal a more consistent amount of damage up close, with limb shot damage equaling a similar amount to the MP18's chest shot damage. It also means that landing 2 headshots in close quarters will just be enough to take an opponent out of the fight too, with a close range headshot bumping that damage up to 51, which is pretty high. But apart from having a slight boost to CQC damage, beyond 12 meters, the Annihilator's bullets are going to behave in the same sort of way as most of the other submachine guns, like the MP18, SMG 0818 and Hellriegel, delivering the same amount of range damage as those. But in comparison to the bullet-spewing Automatico, the Thompson's got a 1 bullet advantage over all distances, making its rounds slightly more menacing. So the Annihilator challenges the assault's other rapid-firing bullet hoses, with a blisteringly fast fire rate of 830 RPM, putting it somewhere in the middle of the SMG 0818 and the Automatico. But the fact that it can kill in 1 less bullet than the Automatico and fires a teeny bit faster than the 0818 gives the gun some incredibly competitive kill times, as it can take people down quicker than most of the other SMGs, and punish your close range victims easily in the blink of an eye. Though it still doesn't quite take the crown of the machine and pistol storm, being able to wipe players out a fraction of a second quicker, due to it having a faster fire rate and taking the same number of bullets to kill. There isn't exactly a massive difference in their kill times, but I guess it's a slight difference that could possibly go in the machine and pistol's favour, if you come face to face with a player wielding one. But nevertheless, the Thompson's still not going to take any prisoners, with its high speed and strong power combined, making it a true force to be reckoned with up on the front lines. Just like the Automatico and a few of the other assault SMGs, the Annihilator's rounds are going to whiz through the air at the speed of 380 meters per second, which isn't exactly blazing fast, but should still be enough to suffice within the gun's effective range up close. Let's just say that leading targets isn't really something you need to worry about when you're using the Thompson, due to the fact that it fires such a huge volume of bullets in a very short space of time, making it the perfect spray and pray weapon in true Tommy gun fashion. Of course, every weapon's got its downsides, and just like you'd expect, pulling the Annihilator's trigger is going to cause it to kick around in a pretty violent way. Its recoil pattern isn't quite as erratic as the faster firing machine and pistols, but it's not really too far off, having a vertical value of 0.55 and a horizontal value of 0.45. Although this might sound like a pretty nasty recoil pattern, which sort of is to a certain degree, the RSE SMG is still going to jump around a lot more for every shot fired, and the SMG 0818 is still going to be less accurate, due to its horizontal recoil being higher. The Annihilator's not really all that far off from the Automatico when it comes to accuracy, which is only a bit more precise. But the Thompson's first shot recoil multiplier is as dramatic as they get, punching that first shot up by 3 times every time you squeeze the trigger. This means that it's not a very good weapon at all for tap or burst firing, so you might need to shoot in slightly longer bursts to help prevent the gun from bouncing all over the place. Being a trench variant and at the same time a rapid firing spray and pray weapon, these two factors go perfectly together like bread and butter, giving you decreased spread over a lot of the other guns when firing from the hip. Aiming down sights is still going to give you a slight advantage, reducing your spread even further, so don't just presume that looking down those iron sights is a pointless thing to do. Though if you're taking on someone in CQC, hip firing can more often than not be a very effective way to win a gunfight, cutting out the need to aim down those sights altogether. The Annihilator might be able to blast out a load of bullets quickly, but it won't be able to sustain that fire for very long, having a pretty measly ammo capacity of just 20 rounds per magazine. 20 shots is technically enough to take out 5 players, but because you'll be losing a lot of those bullets due to that high fire rate and crazy recoil, you'll usually only be able to take out 1 or 2 players before that magazine starts to run dry. 20 rounds is a bit of an awkward amount to have, as although you can comfortably win a couple of gunfights up close without having to reload, you'll need to land a few more shots on target to kill on someone slightly further away, leaving you with less bullets in your magazine to take on another player at a similar range. This means that you'll constantly be doing a bit of a balancing act with your ammo, deciding whether or not you've got enough rounds left over to take on an enemy that might just happen to pop up out of nowhere. If you don't reload, you might not be able to take on that other player, but if you do reload, you'll be temporarily left in a very vulnerable position, unable to defend yourself. The Annihilator's reload times aren't too painful, with a tactical magazine swap over taking just under 3 seconds, and a full one being a tad longer at 3.6 seconds. But because you'll be forced to reload all the time, in between gunfights and skirmishes with enemy players, you'll need to decide when it's best to do so. Always keeping an eye out for cover, and remembering to whip out that sidearm whenever you haven't got enough ammo left over to get the job done. But anyway, in conclusion, the Annihilator Trench is exactly what it says on the tin. It's an Annihilator, and it can destroy close range targets extremely quickly, with a nice combination of strong power and a rapid rate of fire. It does the same kind of thing that a few of the other quick shooting SMGs do, but in its own style, being unique enough to fit in with the other assault weapons without being a complete clone. The Annihilator's got some of the quickest kill times in the game, with it being one of the most relentless close range weapons you can point towards another player. But despite being so bloody dangerous, it can also be a pretty risky thing to use at times too, having just enough bullets per magazine to comfortably take on an opponent or two, but often not enough to get you out of a sticky situation when you're surrounded by any more. You'll need to adapt to your surroundings, keep an eye on the ammo count, and make quick decisions on whether it's safe enough to reload, or whether you need to swap over to that secondary weapon to keep you in the fight. The Thompson might be a bit of a beast, but it's not very reliable for taking on multiple enemies one at a time. The fact that it jumps around a hell of a lot also doesn't really help here very much either, causing you to miss a fair few shots, thus further limiting you for what you can do with that 20 round magazine. Pretty much everything about the Annihilator makes it a poor long range weapon, and the fact that you can't even tap fire very accurately either, with its first shot recoil multiplier being set ridiculously high, means that there isn't really anything you can do to counter that recoil, to land shots precisely on the target far away, and so you might need to fire in longer bursts in order to control that kick a little bit easier. But use the gun within its effective range, and you'll be able to wipe the floor with anyone that gets in your path, providing you have enough bullets left over in your magazine to do so, that is. And because it's a trench variant, you'll also be able to bypass the whole process of aiming down sights up close, to start shooting and killing even quicker, making you even more dangerous in a CQC gunfight. Overall, the Annihilator Trench is a nice blend between the already existing assault weapons, that sacrifices a larger ammo capacity for a bit of extra lethality. It can be a really fun and effective gun to complement an offensive playstyle, but it also brings along an element of risk at the same time, forcing you to play smart and make quick decisions if you want to survive in those hectic situations. So that's it for another one, guys. Hope you enjoyed the guide, maybe learnt a thing or two. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to see loads of other Battlefield videos on my channel, old, new and coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next episode.